In this video, we will give an overview of SIMPL Windows, including navigation and preferences. The SIMPL Windows help files also contain all this information. For more information about settings not discussed in this video, refer to the help file, which can be accessed by pressing the F1 on your keyboard while using SIMPL Windows software. Generally, if you select a specific thing in SIMPL Windows, you will get help related to that thing. Otherwise, it will pull up the main help directory. We will create a new program. We will need to name the system, enter the dealer name, and specify who the programmer is. The compiler version button will check and report the version from your computer, and the firmware version will allow you to connect to a processor if you already have one to get the firmware version from it. Many Crestron processors have multiple program slots, and each program has a program ID tag. We will choose the default program ID tag and choose main as the program. This means that the program will be loaded into slot 1. For information on program slots, reference the help file. We will choose a CP4N processor for this example. You should choose the processor you are working with. The comments section can be a description of the program you intend to create. Let's look at the preferences. Under General, the archive program on save is generally a good idea. Another option of note here is the ability to change the window background, color, and text. You should start programming first before making any major changes to the text and background, as it can make a major difference. Moving to program editing, the only thing you may want to change now is the symbol set from common to special. If you do not, some logic symbols will be hidden. We will leave it default for now. The Directories tab will let you view and change the directories where files and modules are stored. You generally do not want to modify these. The Autosave tab will allow you to adjust the autosave increment. 5 minutes is the default. Most programmers adjust this later after they have spent some time programming. The only thing of note for the Compiler Settings tab right now is that if you choose the Create Archive and embed into the compiled program, your code will be saved in the processor in an editable form in case you lose access to the original files. This is generally a good idea. Now let's talk about the SIMPL Windows views. There is the Configure view. This is where you add most hardware into your program, though there are some exceptions. These are called slots. Each slot represents a certain type of device. For example, Ethernet devices go in Ethernet, CrestNet in CrestNet, etc. You can click the plus icon to expand. We can see that each Ethernet device added would need a unique ID. In this case, it would be called an IP ID. The same rules apply to the CrestNet bus, though the ID is called a CrestNet ID. Let's add an Ethernet touchscreen. You can navigate through on the left and find a specific product, but if you know the part name, you can right-click and select Add Device. You can type directly into this window to snap to the product you want. For example, we typed TS-10 to get to this panel. Now that we have added it, we can see that it took the first available IP ID 03. The ID doesn't matter, and it must be unique. If we add another panel, it would be 04. You can also right-click on a piece of hardware and change the ID, but we won't do that in this example. You can also right-click and hide the unused IP IDs. To add third-party devices, you would go to the User Devices Crestron DB. You can then navigate by manufacturer, type, and model. A module is a container of code that allows a Crestron processor to control third-party devices. The user database is any modules you created yourself or imported into your computer. And the project DB is where you add modules directly into the directory in which your program is saved. For example, if your coworker gave you a user module for a specific project, you might put it in the project directory to use it in this particular project only. The other major view in Simple Windows is called the Programming view. You can navigate to it by pressing this yellow button. The Logic folder is where you program, and the Signal list is a list of signals in your project. Since we haven't programmed anything yet, we will see the default signals 1, 0, and local. What these are will be explained as you learn to program. If we expand Central Control Modules, we can see a near duplicate of the Configure view in Simple Windows. If we expand Ethernet, we will see the touchscreen we added. Normally, if you created your panel first, you would need to right-click on the panel and choose the Manage GUI Extenders option to link the panel with the file generated by the program in which you created your touchscreen project. There are other videos and courses that show how to use these programs. On the left, clicking on Crestron certified drivers will give you a URL to find additional drivers that Crestron makes available at that address. When Crestron makes new drivers, they are generally added to that website. The Crestron database referenced earlier has many legacy devices. Crestron modules is a list of Crestron-made modules for specific things. Logic symbols are what make a program a program. There are multiple types for many different things. What matters now is that to do anything in programming, you need to drag one of these into your program and configure it. We'll pull an analog preset into the program as an example. This could be used to, for example, send a percentage of 0% to a light when a customer pushes the button called off. You always want to name the symbol what it will be doing. One way to do that is to right-click and choose the View Enter Symbol Comment option. Notice that if we name it Example, it is now called Example in the Logic folder. Notice how two stars surround the exclamation point on the symbol name. This is because we have not filled out the symbol. If we tried to compile this program right now, Simple Windows wouldn't let us since we haven't programmed anything yet. What if we wanted to add an IR driver? We would need to go back to the Configure view to add that. On the left, we can go to User Devices and choose the Samsung driver we wanted to use in this program. Once we locate the IR driver, we need to drag it onto the IR port where the IR emitter will be physically wired. Going back to Programming View, notice how we can see the IR driver in the slot we put it in. We can double-click to open it. We will also open up the analog preset. Notice how the symbol got auto-expanded. You can turn that off under the Views menu by turning off the Auto Tile Horizontal option. Then you can move the logic symbols around how you want them. This can be helpful when programming. What if you have the symbols set up the way you want them and need to program a different part of the program? Usually, you'd need to close them all and then manually put them back where you want them. The solution for this is to set a bookmark. Let's add an example bookmark from the Bookmarks menu. If we hit the X now to close everything, we can go to the Bookmark menu and put them back exactly as they were. This is a huge time saver when programming, as you will need to move back and forth between different portions of the code. Moving to the analog preset, we aren't actually going to program it. We are just going to use it as an example. The way programming works in Simple Windows is by naming the signals. When you type the exact signal name across two or more logic symbols, those symbols are now connected. You type the signal name directly on the input or output. Parameter fields like ramp time usually want a specific value, like a number of seconds or a percentage. Each logic symbol has a dedicated help file explaining how it works and how to use it. Even though we are typing random things here, you typically would name the signal something that describes what it is doing. An analog preset might be used to set the level to 60%, in which case you could name the input on the left lights 50% and the output lights output level. This will make more sense once you start programming.